Good afternoon, good morning. This is Matt. We're here with the Independent Consulting Topic Chats, or IC Topic Chats. This is the first one of 2023. Welcome back. If you're like me, you took some time off and you're trying to remember how to go about your daily business again, where you're not waking up and baking scones and walking the dogs for the first couple hours of your day. You actually have to go to work and attend to clients or whatever it is that you do. Today, we're going to talk through a core topic. Core topics are topics that happen every single month, and we repeat that same session every year. So the first session of the year is always why would you do this? We talk a little bit about who has done this before and what we know about people who get started, and we talk through the top 10 list, at least my top 10 list of things that I love about being an independent consultant and may appeal to you. And so then we'll get a chance to chat. So we're recording this. So hello, everybody out in YouTube land. Welcome. We record the presentation part, and then we stop the recording to give people some freedom and some opportunity to chat. And then we do the chat part. So if you're watching this from YouTube, feel free to join us on Thursdays live and in person at 11 a.m. Central or noon Eastern or whatever time it is wherever you are. And do that. So first, before we get into the top 10 list, I like to do the who's our new consultants. Now, this is based upon a survey that we did among the Independent Consulting TIG, Topical Interest Group with the American Evaluation Association, AEA. I did the survey in 2015. There was a survey that was done last fall, but they haven't provided me with a data yet. So I don't know how this is relevant. So you're going to have to interpret this from 8 years ago. 7.5 years ago, and particularly with particular reference to the financial data, I think because of a lot of things that have happened in the last 7.5 years, the data might be a little bit different. You can interpret it however you like. So who are our new consultants? This is based upon 17 people who were full-time, completely dedicated to independent consulting back in 2015. And they were in their first 4 years, 5 years, 0 to 4 years of consulting, and they were overwhelmingly women. And I think doing a quick scan of the people who are here, I think this might be representative of our people. And I'd say this is true of all of our independent consultants within AEA. A little under half of them had PhDs. Important reference here. If you're thinking about going into this whole independent consulting business, you don't need a PhD to do it. I'd say most people have a master's degree, but there's this thought and belief that you must be Dr. So-and-so before somebody's going to take you seriously. And I think you find that might get your foot in the door, but frankly, it's not going to get you down the road. And over time, people trust our ability to get our work done because we can get the job done, not because we have, you call us Dr. Feldman or whatever. And among the new consultants, they were between 33 and 55 years old, which appears to be pretty similar to the people who look like they raised their hands a little bit ago. Except you guys all look younger than 33, of course, but you might be older, I don't know. I like to say if we were going to do a made-for-TV movie about independent consultants, we would have Mayim Bialik. You might know her from Blossom, or even Jeopardy these days, or Big Bang Theory, but she kind of might be our spokesmodel for independent consultants if we needed to select an actress to support the independent consulting business. Why do people consult? So here's some qualitative data from our survey. They did it for the independent. I wanted to work for myself. I wanted to stop taking direction from a boss. They wanted flexibility, and you're going to see this repeated in my top 10 themes. I wanted to be able to work when I wanted, where I wanted, and for whom I wanted to work. And that's kind of similar to independent. And they like the opportunity to make their own money. I was getting ripped off. If you have worked for a university, you know how much money you have to ask from your clients and how little you can provide to them for the amount that they provide to you. And so I certainly felt that way. I made 1.5 times my old salary. When I first got started, I talked to a consultant. She's still doing work. I think she left independent consulting, but she says, I'm making 3 times what I was making before. And so you do have the opportunity to make more money as an independent consultant. Now, it's not necessarily just going to fall in your lap on day one, though I think it does for some people, but it does take a little bit of time and effort to develop a niche. What do people worry about? Well, they worry about money, the uncertainty of always being able to find a new project. I will say, in my experience, I had a lot of uncertainty for the first 5 years, but something always popped up. This is not my quote. This was from somebody else, but this was representative of the way I felt for the first 5 years. What happens oftentimes is we have too much work, not enough work-life balance. And when we're one-person operations, we do find ourselves overwhelmed very quickly because we don't have that support. I can't take on more work because I'm a one-person shop, but I don't have enough extra work to hire somebody. So you find yourself in that. And I was there for a couple of years too, before I hired my first employee. I just didn't have enough extra to take that risk of hiring a person. And I did eventually take that risk. And I did have a tough year in 2019. But then things picked up after that. And the pandemic, for as terrible as it was for a lot of people, I think it was good for a lot of evaluators because there was a lot of money thrown at problems. And so hypothetically, we were helping to make that money be used well. The other thing people worry about is marketing. And we have an entire core topic session on marketing that I think happens in April. But how do I connect with people? How do I sell myself? How do I create new opportunities for new work? My biggest fear was, how much money is there out in the world for me to be able to make? So that is this a doable enterprise to have an independent consulting firm? And so that was why I made sure this question was in there. And I know that this question was in the most recent survey, that I don't have access to the data. I think you can probably do some sort of a multiplier on this number with inflation. And I would say people are probably starting off at a higher median, but I don't know anything for certain. But in 2015, among the 17 folks who responded to the survey who fit the description of being full-time dedicated to an independent consulting practice, in their first 4 years, they made on median $75,000 a year, with between 40 and 97,000. And that made me feel good to know that, hey, maybe that's not maybe as much as I want it to be, because that's before you take out costs for expenses. But that was enough to know, hey, I can make a go of this for a couple of years, and the data get a little bit better. After that, you get a ball rolling. It's a snowball situation, and people make a little bit more, and then they make on median 142,000 when they kind of get to 10 plus years. This is an interesting little piece to that. When you get to 20 plus years, the numbers go down, and I'm worried about that. And I don't know the answer. Does anybody want to take a guess in the chat why they think it goes down after 20 years?
I think you could hypothesize that perhaps, yeah, I was going to say what Kylie said, like they're reducing their hours or they're working less, so they're not taking on as much because they're getting ready to retire.
We got a couple people who've been doing this for 20 plus years, and so they're sharing too. They reduce their hours. I think the answer is this is my own qualitative take on this. People they do what they want to do after 20 years. Like, I don't have to work as hard as I wanted to. I only want to work with certain people. And so I think that that's not necessarily a reflection on your losing grip with reality. It's more that people focus on working on working on specific projects or working on the things that they want to do. Or perhaps, if we're starting at the age of between 33 and 50, maybe we're at our retirement age and we want to take more time to spend time with our grandchildren. I know that's the case for Kurt. Or we want to spend more time traveling with our spouse or our partner. So I think that that's kind of what happens. And focus in on your services and just do a better job with people you want to work with. I don't have to do, you get to that point where you're like, I don't have to do that work anymore. That kind of work I needed to get to pay the bill. I don't need, the bills are paid. I paid off my house or something. Isn't it nice to be able to just do the work I want to do? So I think that's what's going on there. Okay, so let's go into my top 10 list. This is my top 10 list. the end, I'm gonna turn off the recording and we'll talk through your things that maybe you thought we should be, particularly my folks who've been doing this for a couple of years, with why they're doing this, and maybe I missed something, or if they had a reflection, and that'll kind of kick off our chat. But also I want to make sure we give room to our new consultants who have the questions, the burning questions. So top 10, number 1, you want to be your own boss. This is that independence idea. This is my dog. His name is Maxwell Smart, and he sat very patiently while I placed glasses on him one day. But yeah, this you want to be able to just give direction to your own day. What do you want to do? How do I want to do it? Who do I want to work with? So it is about independence. Number 9, some of us want to work less, and I certainly worked less for the first couple of years. I feel like the last couple of years since I've taken on a staff, I did my hours. I'm not working more than 50 hours a week, but I feel like I'm working harder and more, and it does feel like more work, but actually I'm not doing so bad. But you do have the ability to not only work less, but give direction to when you work. I work with a subcontractor who only works in the evenings, and that's the only time she wants to work. She'll do occasional meetings during the day, but that's just when she works best. And so she has the flexibility to be able to do that. And with the use of Zoom, like what we're using today, and other kinds of networking software, we can work in our bedrooms. We can work in our houses a lot easier than even 10 years ago, where we were doing it then, but we were doing a lot of conference calls back then, literal conference calls, the old school conference calls with our clients. And we actually spent more time traveling to go see our clients than we do now. So that is one of the advantages of the pandemic. We do have better ability to work when, where we want to. And I do more work outside of my immediate region. So there it is, work where you want. This is a picture of me. I traveled to Mexico. This was from about 2 years ago. My father passed away 2 years ago in April, and I got a chance to work from Mexico and spend time with him where he was retired. And that's me with my sisters and my stepmom and my father. And so if you were involved with the Zoom, with these IC topic chats back then, I actually did them from Mexico in my dad's spare bedroom. It was great. Work when you want. This is a picture of me with my daughter, who's now in 7th grade. This is when she was in 4th grade. And I would walk 2 blocks down the street from where I am currently located, and I would eat lunch with her on Wednesdays. And so I chose to leave and go see her, and that's her friend Kara, who spent the night New Year's Eve with us just a couple days ago. But that was the great thing. That was the flexibility to do what you want to do when you want to do it. You have the opportunity to make more money, as we saw from the comments in the survey. This is a picture of a trophy I received after running a marathon in each of the 50 states. And as you can probably guess, if you want to run a marathon in each of the 50 states, it costs a lot. You got to pay for tickets to get there. You got to pay for registrations, and so there was a lot of little extra costs associated with it. So that was a lot of fun to be able to do that, and I was able to afford that just through some of the extra money that I was able to make through being an independent consultant. But not getting into the more serious stuff, you can identify and live your own principles. And so I have 4 principles that inform our work, and I created them because that's what I wanted to do, and it was my firm. And thankfully, it's not just Matt's crazy ideas. My staff all really identify with these principles, and it kind of blew my mind one day when one of my staff members, who was relatively recent, she recited them for me, and I was like, oh my God, people actually pay attention to these things. And they do, they inform my work. But I created these principles as the way that I think an independent consulting program evaluation firm ought to run. And in fact, I just talked about continuity with a potential new client this morning. Gives you the opportunity to learn new skills. So here's some professional associations that I'm affiliated with. And, I can afford to do this because the firm pays for it. And so that's not out of my pocket, it's out of the firm's pocket. But, extra money gives me the opportunity to go do these things. Job security. With time, you develop relationships with clients. And this is part of what I talk about in niche and marketing. But I have job security because I don't have one employer. I have several. I started working with Cahokia Unit School District here in my community. And then I made an opportunity at SIU Edwardsville. And then I started working with O'Fallon Township High School. And then it kind of just picked up from there. And so currently we have 45 funded projects. And the good news there is, even if you're talking, I've got 12 staff, including myself, but even if it's just a one-person operation, if you have 7 projects, if you have 5 projects, right, which that's your risk is spread out over those 5 projects. It's better than having one employer who decides on a whim, we can't afford you anymore, and then you don't have a job. So I feel like I have better job security because I have more projects. And that's the way I look at it. Now, not everybody's going to have the number of projects per person that we do. We're pretty high with that because we do smaller projects and we spread our time out. But regardless, working with more than one client is a better situation because you spread out your risk over your clients. And if you're making, let's say $80,000 a year, $20,000 per client, 4 clients, if one of your clients decides to, drop you and it's not going to happen, then you have you have $60,000. You still have 3 other clients that you can rely on, and so you spread your risk out across clients. Number 2, you have a chance to contribute to the things that you care about. For me, I've been able to contribute to these different not-for-profits, some of which I founded, are some of which that I support. The Evil Girls Running Club. I'm the coach for a bunch of, well, they're now 7th grade girls who run with us on Sundays. You have the opportunity to succeed. STEM Camp is a program that Kurt and Susan and Ann Price are involved with as external evaluators, external evaluation panel. But STEM Camp started because we developed relationships with a bunch of school districts that had Department of Defense grants, and we connected them together, and we put just different ideas together, and one thing led to another, and we wrote the big grant. And to everybody's surprise, most notably mine and my staff, we got funded. And hey, look, there's Susan. You can see her down here in the picture. If you look really hard in the corner here, you can see Kirk Nestis. Although this kind of looks like Kirk Nestis, but that's not him. He's over here. He's not part of our session today, but he's a colleague and member of our panel as well. Importantly, we also have the opportunity to fail, and failure is an important piece of what you're going to do. If you think starting a consulting firm is going to be hard, you're right, and that's actually something you need to embrace, because it's not a matter of whether it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. Everything you do is going to be hard. So why not take an opportunity to do something hard that's going to be really productive towards you, your family, your opportunity to do things, and all the other things I talked about before. But you are going to fail, and you need to accept that idea. You're going to fail in other things you do anyway. So why not fail at something that you care about? And so I think that's really important for you to think about. Failure is a part of what we're going to do. You're going to write a proposal and it's not going to get funded. You're going to have a client that you love and they're going to decide not to renew your contract. There's a lot of things. You're going to put some opportunities out there, and you're just going to, the door's going to slam in your face. You need to embrace that idea. And when you're okay with that, that's going to be a part of what you're going to do. I will say this about being an independent consultant. You have to be optimistic. If you're a pessimistic person, this is not the job for you, because you got to believe that you can pick yourself up, and that if you move forward, you're going to find a new opportunity to succeed in the future, but you will fail along the way. And with that, what would your top 10 list be? And that's going to be the conversation I'm going to come back to in just a second after I stop the recording. But before I do that, I want to tell you our sessions that are coming up next week. I'm going to do another session on getting paid. This is an important piece. We all want to know, what am I supposed to do with accounts receivable? How does that work? 2 weeks from now, Jessica and Becky are going to talk to us about remote teams. They actually did this for for our session in the Meet the Pros session. They did that. So they did it in a 10-minute or a 15-minute block. So we'll give them an entire hour to talk through that. Jennifer Jewis will be talking about a book, Designing and Leading Life-Changing Workshops. And then we'll do another core topic, niche identification. And if you're brand new and you want to get connected to people, show up to the subcontractor fair on February 9th, and you'll probably see some more about that through the Independent Consulting TIG e-group. And if you're a bigger firm and you want to have a room where you can meet people who you might want to subcontract with as a prime contractor, let me know, and I'll set you up with a room. With that, I'm going to stop recording, and I'm going to try and take a look at all the pieces in the chat because I haven't paid attention to that. But goodbye, YouTube people. We'll see you guys the next time around. And for everybody here, stick around and we'll chat.